Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate the support we've been getting recently on across all platforms, especially the podcast. Podcast has been going mean, so thank you all very much for that. But just across all our stuff that we're doing, including in store, just want to say thank you guys very much. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. But yeah, today I thought we would just jump into something that I've been wanting to talk about and sort of the next part of what we've been thinking about recently in terms of grappling with this question of industry mindset, which if you haven't checked in on if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, I'll leave the info cards up top with the links to the part 1 and part 2 of what we've done so far. So yeah, I mean, basically what we'll do as well is I'll just walk around and show you pictures of the shows. That'll be more fun. But yeah, basically the thing I've been wanting to talk about for actually quite a while, and the reason I started this series is an idea I had, well, not necessarily an idea, but I would quite like to discuss something that I have a lot of customers who do it, and I think it's something it's a good idea, but we have to be very careful with it. So basically the idea is buying fish and growing them up to grow them out to sell them essentially. But what I mean by that is, say for example you have a 3-foot 150 litre 40 gallon aquarium and you really love peacocks and haps, the African cichlids, but obviously that's going to be too small. So the thing I'm talking about is getting them small. We have quite a few customers who do it. Get them small, grow them out for a few months, and then trade them back for another smaller one. So this basically means you can keep it if for some reason. So I'd always say get a bigger tank, but if for some reason that's not even on the table, this way you can kind of do it. Sort of grow out these fish and keep these fish and enjoy the behaviors and stuff, but not have to worry about them overpopulating your tank or outgrowing the space that you can provide. So yeah, I mean, the first caveat or sort of thing I wanted to talk about with it is we have to be very careful with what fish we're doing this with, and I have a bit of a process that I'd like to kind of discuss. So I mean, if you guys want to do it with me, like via or in conjunction with the Aquarium Project, what we can do is I will obviously make sure you're doing it with the right fish that you aren't going to get saddled with, but I'm well aware, like, we have listeners and viewers from all over the place, all over the world even, which means that obviously you're not going to be able to do it with me. But basically what I'd suggest doing is doing it with fish where size increases value. So like a lot of people will say want to do it with like a silver arowana, for example. Buy a little one for $200, grow it out for 6 months and then sell it. The only problem with this is you're never going to sell that fish. Well, not never, but the chances that goes to a good home is so slim, just because it's a big fish. I mean, anyone who wants one who has enough space to house one has already got one pretty much. So I'd say that's probably not going to be the best idea. So you want to make sure that you go out of your way to ensure that it's fish that size plays. So I'll give some examples. Obviously this will probably vary around the world, but things such as African cichlids, particularly peacocks and haps, things like your rainbow fish, like a Bosemani rainbow for example, the fancy L number plecos like L128 for example, these sort of ones where you buy them small, grow them up, and they'll be worth more. Things you definitely don't want to do would be things such as your arowanas, Oscars, common plecos, I don't know, that kind of thing. Frontosas even, probably, depending on where you are in the world. Things like that you're going to struggle to move when they get big. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if you do it, so I wasn't in two minds about making this video, and I talked to some friends about it who were all pretty against me doing it, for the basic reason that the idea, well, people will probably do it with inappropriate fish anyway, or in a tank that's too small. Like no matter what you do, you can't keep a peacock, even a little peacock in a 20 litre tank isn't going to work. You're just going to stunt it. But if you're very careful, I think you can do it in a bit bigger of a tank, even if it's not big enough long term. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the only thing I've been wanting to talk about is I think it would be a disservice to not do this video because people are going to do what I tell them to specifically not to. So I guess just please make sure you do it with the right things. What I'd suggest is going on, well, this is New Zealand specific, so I don't know, every country will have their own version, but go on Trade Me and just monitor stuff and see what bigger stuff is actually selling for. So you've got to make sure you see what it sells for, rather than a sort of what it's listed for. Because you can list something for anything, doesn't mean it's going to sell. But so, for example, just watch say you want to do it with blue dolphins, for example. That's a big blue dolphin female there. We've got some more blue dolphins over here. Say you want to do it with blue dolphins. You want to get them at, say, 4 centimeters, grow them out to 8 centimeters and sell them. Make sure you look and see that they are selling at that size. The last thing you want to do is get stuck with big ones that aren't going to sell. So yeah, and I mean, you can even talk to your fish store and see if, so like for example, so I said a bigger blue dolphin is going to sell more than a smaller blue dolphin. So what you can do is talk to your fish store and say, hey, I would really love to do this, but you know, I can't keep a blue dolphin long term, but I can keep him for X amount of months or whatever. How about I buy my fish, you know, the first time, the small ones I buy just straight up, and then in X amount of months I come back and I give you my bigger one and you give me a smaller one as just a straight up trade, and then we can just keep doing that. You know, maybe we do it with blue dolphins, then we do it with Venustus, then we do it with, I don't know, dragon's blood, whatever, things like that. That way you can make sure that these fish, you have bigger fish, which obviously means the fish store can make more money off them. You can keep your fish so that there's even the small ones, you can keep them, have fun, enjoy them, enjoy the behaviors, enjoy the colors, everything like that. But you don't have to worry about not finding a correct home. So that's kind of the system I was talking about. If it is a hard one, I would always recommend getting the bigger tank, but this sort of discussion falls in with the industry mindset, like a proper industry mindset that we were talking about, where instead of, so it's hard, you want to always, if you're getting fish, you want to keep them for the long term. However, this kind of falls more in the industry mindset. You'd need to approach it with an industry mindset, and I'm aware that people are going to have sort of emotional attachments to this fish, but you sort of need to come to terms with that. You're going to get rid of them eventually, and what that means is you're taking more of like a working in the industry mindset, where these fish aren't my personal fish. I'm doing this, you know, as a part of industry, as essentially as contracting out the growing out of the fish to the individual rather than for the business. So that means I have a responsibility of stewardship for these animals while they're in my care. So that means I don't have enough space anymore in, say, 6 months. We'll say 6 months for this imaginary fish, just for ease of sake. Say in 6 months, I've got no space. I'm really attached to this fish, but I've got no space to keep it. I knew this when I was getting into it. The time has come, and I would make sure to do a specific, like an objective scale at the start. So like, say, I'm waiting till this fish gets X amount of centimeters or inches or whatever. No matter what, I'm going to measure it every 2 weeks. Obviously not pull it out of the tank every 2 weeks, but I'm going to, stick a tape measure up against the glass every 2 weeks and wait till it swims the right angle to get it. As soon the exact day that it hits whatever imaginary benchmark we've made up, that's the day I'm gonna find. I'm gonna send an email to the shop, say, right, on the weekend, this weekend, I'm gonna bring that fish in, and you're gonna have X fish ready for me, or X options for me to choose from, and we're gonna go from there. So that way, it kind of having this industry mindset that I'm talking about really comes into play. But there's safeguards you can put in place to kind of prevent it. If you are going to do this sort of process, please make sure you exercise care, and make sure always, number one, the welfare and the health and the well-being and happiness and all those other good words of the fish comes number one. But it is certainly possible to sort of play within the industry without, like, it doesn't have to be your full-time job. You can contribute, like, it's a win situation basically, because it's like the fish shop gets better fish and can make more money. You get to keep fish without the fear of always running out of tank space for them. The next person to get them is able to buy bigger fish that can go straight into their peacock and hap tank without them getting eaten. The fish is happier because it can grow up in a safe space where it's well looked after by someone who really cares about the well-being of the fish. I'm sure there's more people who win, but I can't think of them. But that's basically what I mean. And I really hope that this is clear and being clear enough for people to understand. But I do really want to stress, like, 100% make sure it's a fish that you can find a home for. So yeah, like, I already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Things like arowanas, Oscars, common plecos, that kind of thing, don't do that. Things like peacocks, haps, rainbow fish, fancy plecos like the L number plecos, I don't know, there'll be more things, I'm sure, that I can't remember. Like, you'll have to make sure it's in your area or somewhere where you can ship it to or whatever. It's not a fish that's like, oh, in New Zealand, like, maybe you're in Canada listening, and like, right, peacocks and haps, Cam said peacocks and haps, everyone wants big ones, so I'm going to grow these all out. But maybe in your area, no one cares about peacocks and haps, and everyone wants goldfish, fancy goldfish, for example. So do the research. Don't just dive into it. Do the research for your specific area, and make sure it's true. Otherwise, if you're in the area of me, feel free to come and talk to me about it, and we can discuss it. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say, and it's kind of an option and a bit of a fun space to play in, where people can sort of be a part of the industry and maybe play around with things you couldn't otherwise play with. But yeah, please exercise caution. Again, hate to keep going on about it, but I know it's going to get me in trouble, but I think it's for responsible people out there. I think it's definitely doable and completely safe for the fish. Breeders and like wholesalers and shops and stuff grow stuff out all the time. Basically, the way to think of it is kind of contracting that out to you guys, so that you guys can, it's better than sitting in some random garage, the fish sitting in some random garage, where no one can see them growing out. You can enjoy them at the same time. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next one. Love ya.